I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Vita and Chip.
Booby already did the word for the day because that was Ramstein.
Yep.
Maybe we need to turn it into the word for the hour.
Yeah, the word of the pick.
Booby shirts are coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna be a big fan of the Booby shirt. Oh. This is a Patreon alliance.
Yes, it is. Oh
Pick.
no.
What? Sucks to be you. Sori just lost her little thingamajiggy.
The little rubber. I'm gonna blame it on the kids because they were in my room last night. That's where it was. Hey, speaking of Sori, check out my channel, My Sori Life, and the package arrived that I've been waiting for, so you can see what was inside of it. But I think that video's coming out tomorrow, so be on the lookout.
If you are a fireside inclined individual, check out the other channel, Middle America with Vin and Sori. We just posted those two up there, so it is what it is. Okay, so this is
if there's a song that you're wanting to get reviewed and it seems like no matter how many times you ask, it won't happen, the best way to make that happen is to go to patreon.com /Vin and Sori. And if you donate at least $1, that translates to points. And then your points, you pile them up with other people's points. And then you guys get to sway our decision.
Pretty good system.
And then you can get your songs reacted to.
We're doing 2 of these a week right now. 2 of them.
So.
The other way to do it is to be like that guy that keeps asking for the Chevelle song, the clincher.
Yeah, or be at the right place at the right time.
Or if I
Or pick the very highest tier and then you do a review with us. But
yeah, there's lots of things that can be done.
There are ways.
All right.
Okay.
Was it Justice for Daniel? That's what people do. Like, Chevelle the clincher. Hashtag Justice for Daniel. All right. Lots of ways. Also, go to the website, vinandsori.com. Make requests there.
Yep. You can put one request per day.
God almighty. All right. To dream of or.
Hopefully this doesn't sound weird with my one piece. Ready?
Go!
Go.
No?
The only part that
Too
I
slow?
liked...
Didn't take off?
Oh, it didn't. No, the only part that I liked was right at the end when he started, like, really going for it. He had I don't know. I think he was saying, in blood-stained altars. I'm not sure. It was, like, right at the end. Remember when you were trying to, like, you went up there for the lyrics?
Yeah.
Right at that part, he was like, that was the only part that I liked. Other than that, it was very long feeling. It was boring. It felt very basic. I mean, I don't make music like that, so, I mean, I'm not trying to be insulting just because I perceived it to be basic, but...
NILE? We did a NILE song before.
And we liked it.
It was the...
Did we like it?
Yeah, it was the anti-Muslim one.
Oh,
Where the Muslims were destroying everything and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that was a completely different band, in my opinion. They were fast and they were... I kept waiting... Maybe it's my own... Like, I kept waiting for it to take off. Because at the launch pan, I was like, all right, they're going to start off all slow and eerie and Mesopotamian, and then they're going to go... Pew! And they never did.
No.
So... Which... I love the subject matter, To Dream of Or. Mm-hmm. I know it looks like but it's really pronounced Or. Which is pretty important for a Christian. Or is. Because Abraham...
I was going to say, wasn't Abraham from there?
Abraham came from this.
Mm-hmm.
He came from Ur of the Chaldees, which is... Chaldea is pretty much Babylon, Iraq, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. So the whole entire, the most probably important person in the Bible aside from Jesus to a Christian, if they're thinking right, is Abraham, and he came from Ur. This was his milieu, Marduk and the Akalu and all that. Yeah. Yakpala is really interesting because there's recent scholarship as of 2016. This guy, Amar Anus, I actually follow him on, I forgot, something edu, if you want to check him out. He's an ancient Near Eastern scholar, and he writes really interesting stuff. Well, he published a paper in 2016 on, so there's a genealogy in Genesis 5, and then there's a king list in ancient Near Eastern Babylonian literature. And the seventh king ascends to heaven and gets knowledge from the gods and all this and that. And it just so happens that the seventh person in the genealogy in Genesis 5 is Enoch.
Who
ascends to heven, and in the intertestamental literature, Enoch gets all this wisdom from God.
Right.
So that article was talking about the parallelism between, which you should expect to see, between the Babylonian literature at the time and the literature that Moses wrote.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Akpalu are, I think the translation of Akpalu is sages. I'm pretty certain. Okay. I'm going to go look at the article after this. The translation is sages, but the Akpalu in this are relative to the B'nai Elohim in Genesis 6.
Yeah.
So the sages came down and taught us all this stuff. And of course in the Babylonian literature they're good guys.
Yeah.
Well, in the Old Testament literature they're bad guys.
Right.
And then of course in the Enochian intertestamental literature they're bad. They taught us all this. They taught us jihad. They taught us makeup. All this stuff and medicine and the arts and all that stuff.
Too, right?
And they taught us how to manipulate fire and all the rest of it. Yeah. So, but they were bad, and they caused all this terribleness, and then they intermarried with women, and that created the Nephilim, who were giants who destroyed everything, and then God had to flood the earth to get rid of the Nephilim. Basically, it's a story. But it's very interesting because it's like on the Babylonian side, they're good guys, they're awesome, they're amazing, they're the culture builders of Mesopotamian society. Yeah. But from the Mosaic perspective or the Torah perspective, they're bad guys. They ruined everything. They were a fall pretty much on par with the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
So as Michael Heiser, who's my favorite scholar on the ancient Near East, said that, in the Old Testament there's about 3 falls. There's a fall in the Garden of Eden, there's the Nephilim fall in Genesis 6, and then there's a fall at the Tower of Babel, which is where these folks came from. But of course, if you're on the wrong side of it, then you're going to interpret it as a good thing.
Yeah, of course.
So these guys are romanticizing the Babylonian side of it.
Yep.
Which, as a Christian, it's like, yeah, they were on the wrong side of it. But at the same time, it's like, those are the people that God chose to start the whole nation of Israel.
Yeah.
So God took somebody from this milieu and said, okay, I'm going to take you out, and then we're going to create a new, religion out of it.
Yep.
Marduk was kind of like the, and the only reason I know about Marduk is because of, anytime you do anything Annie-wise, you're going to run into Marduk.
Yeah.
But Marduk...
Was he the one they would sacrifice their kids to?
No.
The arms?
No,
Who was that guy?
It's Dagon.
Oh, Dagon.
It's different. That's Canaanite, not
right.
But, so Marduk was interesting because there's basically a council of gods, like a divine council almost. And Tiamat, Tiamat, was this horrible beast that was just destroying, ruining everything, and none of the gods knew how to deal with it. So Marduk said, I know how to deal with him. I'm going to kill him. But the thing is, if I kill him, then you have to make me the...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You have to make me the main god.
Yep.
And so they said, well, if you can find a way to figure this crap out and kill this dude, go for it.
Yeah.
And so Marduk went out and he slayed Tiamat, and then he created the world with the remains of Tiamat, and then so the other gods said, all right, you're the guy. And so Marduk has eyes all around him, because he's basically like all-seeing.
Omniscient?
Yeah, he's omniscient, which is interesting because there are seraphim that are in the throne room of heaven in Ezekiel 1 and Revelation 5.
Oh, I was thinking of Isaiah.
No, they're not.
That was cherubim?
They're serpentine.
Yeah.
Those guys are serpentine.
Okay.
The imagery in Ezekiel 1 and Revelation 5 has the eyes all around.
Yeah.
But they're like
low.
They're not the ultimate god. They're very powerful. They're divine beings, obviously, but they're not the god. Whereas Marduk is presented as the god. But the imagery of the eyes all around started with Marduk. It predated anything from the Bible. And so they just used that imagery and said, yeah, we got one of those guys, but he's kind of like, he's a throne guardian. He's not the guy. It's very interesting. Kind of like a subliminal little thing.
Yeah.
So it's extremely interesting. I'm obsessed with the ancient Near East. I love the ancient Near East because it's very interesting what the biblical author chose to incorporate and what he chose to completely ignore.
Right.
So, for example, Yahweh just creates stuff ex nihilo. There's no struggle with a giant beast and then da da da. He doesn't. Yahweh just that's not even on the radar at all. If you didn't know what was going on in the ancient Near East and Middle East, you wouldn't even know that Tiamat created the world after the struggle with the beast. Forget it. And but Peterson's angle was this whole story where the gods get together and said if you can kill him then you'll be the main god is basically because Babylon was basically a collection of all these cities.
Yeah. And
it's like everybody had their own god, but then they had to cooperate.
Yep.
And it was kind of okay, you can still have all your gods, but somebody's got to be the leader because there's a whole hierarchy thing.
Right.
And and so basically the idea was, there was probably some terrible monster, whatever, beast, animal, wildebeest, whatever you want to call it, that was tormenting their city. And there's one guy that said, yeah, I'll figure it out. But if I win, then you got to make my god the real god. And then that got mythologized and all the rest of it. And so there you are. But so then the Abraham story is very, very interesting because Abraham gets taken out of that milieu, and there's none of that, and there's nothing about Abraham conquering anything or anything. It's just, you're out, you follow me, worship me, and I'll make you a great nation. Halas. It's amazing, amazing stuff. The interplay between history and how the Bible.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what that's the milieu he's talking about. When Babylon was blessed by Marduk. And the sound of our armies was the blare of ominous war horns. So you have a couple you have Nimrod, who's basically the first Babylonian king. You have Hammurabi, which Hammurabi is usually portrayed as a good guy.
Didn't we name that cat? What did we name that cat?
Nimrod, yeah,
we
he
did.
named Cat Nimrod, and he expired pretty quickly.
He did.
Subhanallah. What happened? Was it mouse traps or whatever?
I don't know what happened. We just found him in the basement, all crustified.
God almighty, that was terrible.
He was like this beefy cat. We got him because we were having a
Wasn't he a
mouse
stray?
problem.
He was a stray, wasn't he?
At
Picked
one
him up
point
on the
he
side of the
was.
street?
No, we didn't. No, I got him at like the SPCA type thing. And then we brought him down to the place that we were, like, you know, talking to people, administering to people, whatever you want to call it. And so he was there to, like, make sure we didn't have any mice problems. But somehow he got into the basement. I'm not even sure how that happened. And then, like, I never saw him. Like, he was like this beefy cat, so I was like, he's going to be able to handle himself. We called him Nimrod. He's going to be a mighty hunter before the Lord.
Right, he's gonna hunt the mice.
Yeah, but then we never saw him.
Did he eat one of the mouse traps or something?
No,
poison?
Well, I think
Or he
that
got
the landlord put. I think the landlord put poison in the basement, and so my guess is that he got to the basement and ate some of that and then died. But he was all curled up in a chair. He looked fine. You know what I'm saying? But it was kind of.
Yeah, that was spooky.
It was spooky.
Yeah, I felt so bad for you because you really.
I was so sad.
You were excited for that cat.
Yeah.
We turned the whole place upside down looking for him. We had the worst luck.
There was something about the cat too, like losing the cat when my dog had already gotten hit, and it was just too many things on top of the miscarriage, too many losses. And so then one loss makes you think of all the other losses. So
Yeah,
it was just too
remember
much.
that. There was a big correlation between
Yeah, it was too much.
the dog and the cat.
Baby.
Good
Anyway.
Lord.
Okay, so Nimrod. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, yeah, so you had Nimrod and then you had Hammurabi, pretty famous. You know, he kind of came up with his own. It wasn't 10 Commandments, but he basically came up with
Yeah.
a system of law and jurisprudence. You know,
I thought it was called Hammurabi's Laws, no?
Hammurabi's Code.
Code. Yeah, that's
He
what
said-
it is. I remember somebody, that predates the Bible, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time somebody told me that. I was like, because I thought that the oldest document was the Bible, and then somebody was telling me about that, and they're like, yeah, this stuff in there, that's in your Bible. And I was like, I didn't believe them, and then I'm pretty sure I came and asked
Yeah, you came and asked me, and you're like, I know that that's not true. And I was like, no, that's true. For sure. And you were like, what? Stuff was written before the Bible?
How can this be?
I said, yeah, that's very true. And then you're like, we'll have to talk about this after.
Yeah,
Because anytime we started talking about something, there's always a bunch of people would congeal on the subject, and then you didn't want them talking about it.
no, I didn't want any confusion coming. Like, I didn't want anyone getting confused. I'm like, oh my gosh, like.
Did they teach you in school that the Bible was the oldest document in the world?
I don't know where I heard that. Maybe. I don't know. I can't say. I know that's what I thought. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so the Babylonians had a pretty advanced society. They had the city temple complex thing going along. I mean, that was the template for Israelite religion. Was the city temple complex. So, and then you had Hammurabi.
What do you mean city temple complex? Is that where there was a city and within the city was a temple? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So you had the locus of trade and
everything
army
was
and all
happening
that.
in that
But then
city.
you also had your temple where everybody would congeal and you know.
Kept
So
everything
pretty-
regulated.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex system actually. And you know, you had these things to communicate with the gods. You know, these towers and these temples and all that. They were ziggurats, so they were kind of like. They're kind of pyramidish, but flat at the top, and then you would go to the top.
Stairs all the way around.
Yeah, it was like stairs, and then we'll probably have a picture of it somewhere, depending on how much editing you want to do. But then you'd get to the top, and you'd meet with the gods. You know, and so that's when you see in the Bible in Genesis 11, it's like, let's build a tower to reach to heaven. They weren't literally saying we're going to build the thing as high as to get out of the stratosphere. They were just talking about building a ziggurat to reach to heaven, meant to interact with the gods type of thing. But it was just, you know, it was the first time that the human ingenuity kind of coalesced together and created something unbelievable. Where you had society and culture, and you found ways to regulate that stuff.
Yep.
And these guys were long before the Israelites. The Israelites took hundreds of years after this to get to this point. maybe even 1,000 to get to this point.
Wow.
Where the Babylonians were long before.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an incredible testament to the human ingenuity and what it means to be in the image of God and all the rest of it. Because it's really, that's it.
But
right?
I thought you just said that they were contacting the gods or the demons or the whatever.
Yeah.
And that's where they got their ideas from.
Yeah. How's that different from what I said?
Because you said human ingenuity.
Yeah.
But when humanity mixes with the divine, how can you call it human ingenuity? It's not just human ingenuity.
Well, because human beings are divine beings in the sense that we're created in the image of God.
Yeah.
So, what do you mean when humanity mixes with the divine? You're already a divine being.
No, what I'm saying is, you're talking about it like, wow, the complexities of humanity that we were able to do all of these things. Well, we didn't get the idea out of nowhere. It's not like we just came upon the idea and used our own minds to. You're saying that supernatural forces were involved in giving them the ideas to begin with.
Well, no.
So how?
Because long before the flood, you had Cain's descendants making music and agriculture and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So there was. It's not like the.
And didn't they make metal things?
Yeah, he had metallurgy there. I mean,
Which would mean there was fire.
This is during the Bronze Age, so
Right.
it's not like even from a supernatural perspective, it's not like these guys knew nothing and that Akbalu or the B'nai Elohim were coming down with dealing with a clean slate. Mm-hmm. They were dealing with some pretty intelligent, advanced people already. So, but it's an interesting. I've always been drawn to this time period when everything was new. I think they had a line here where they said everything was still new or something like that. Ages past when the world was young. Yeah, that's the cool part of it. It was when the world was young. We're all still kind of innocent, and we really weren't because this is after the flood and everything. But there was just something about that time period that's like eminently fascinating to me, which is why I always return to Genesis, because the more and more the scholars come out, the deeper that you see how deep Genesis is and how purposeful Moses was with how much he read and all that. It's like Michael Heiser says, like, newsflash, the authors of the Bible read books. Can you imagine?
Hard to believe.
Yeah. So, magnificent walls of sun-baked bricks of temples of marble. Where they talked about that. Let's make, and they specifically talked about brick and things like that.
Yeah, they did.
In the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11. So, beneath the endless shifting sands and the inevitable vengeance of the elements. That is such a
that's
good
a good line. Yeah.
That's the line of the week.
Yeah.
Line of the week, ladies and gentlemen. That's such a good line. There was that line, and then the line that what's his name? Uncle Dan's dumbassery.
What do you?
He had this badass line about alchemy. Well, I'm looking for it right now. Alchemy is actualized. I like that line. That's so like those two are competing as lines of the week.
Line of the week.
Yeah. The inevitable vengeance of the elements. Whoo! Such a good line. It's like,
Yeah, can you imagine trying to build something on sand like that?
Well, I mean, it's not that difficult if you can build brick, right? It's just the upkeep is the problem. The upkeep.
Honestly, when you think about it, I can't believe there's pyramids still standing.
Yeah. But that's where all those conspiracy theories come from. How did we do it? And it's aligned with the Pleiades and this and Orion and the Sphinx. And the Sphinx was a black man. The Sphinx was a cat. I'm not trying to claim the Sphinx.
But it was the face of a black man?
Right. Well, yeah. One of the Egyptologists, the dude from Europe, he's like, something wrong here. The nose looks like that of a Negro, and that can't be right because there were no Negroes there at the time. It's all white people.
Oh gosh. Wow.
But good lyrics. Very. It's like this, and then like what's his name?
What?
Nergal.
Yeah.
And then Danny Philp. Like you have to have some.
You have to have some background some understanding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have to have some background in this stuff, otherwise
Somebody's
forget
interested
it.
in it. Yep.
Forget it. You're not gonna know a damn thing. I don't understand how like these guys like have the time to be such good musicians and at the same time be familiar with this stuff. It's crazy to me.
Dual loves.
But like you have to. These guys, like, it challenges you to step your game up and know what you're talking about. Musically, I just
Oh, I know.
I just kept waiting for it to take off, and maybe I don't have the acquired taste yet of like all the different strands of metal. I was just waiting for some speed or something. It was just like, ugh. I'm like, oh, come on, man. You're talking about Babylon. You're talking about, you know, the clash of cymbals and war horns. It's like, come on, give me some giddy up. You know, something.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that, but I love the lyrics.
What are you giving it?
Visiting the ancient areas for a while. What am I giving the song? It's a 7.5. 7.5. What do you give it?
I went all the way down to a 6 with it, and then I bumped it back up to a 7 because of that ending when he was. So I was giving it a 7.
All right. There you are. There's your education for the day. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.